Hello, everyone. Tonight, we are visiting a place you were never supposed to find where nothing walks, runs, or hops. Imagine this. You wake up face down on a gray beach, your hands sinking into warm, gluey sand that smells like mushrooms and burnt rubber. There's no wind, no waves, and absolutely no footprints. Nothing has ever tiptoed here. Nothing has ever stomped. You sit up. Slowly. The sun is pink and lazy, barely rising, and already you're sweating. Something glistens near your feet. Thin, silvery trails winding into the jungle, like someone dragged wet dental floss through mud. You reach out to touch one and immediately regret it. It's not slime, it's warm, still fresh. Whatever left it, it's close. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. And let me know in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it right now? Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. You try to stand up. Your legs say no, hard no. They're still sore from whatever storm or crash left you here. So you crawl. That's fine. Everyone else here does too. You shuffle along the beach following those trails. There are no shells, no driftwood. The tide has left behind only lumps of gelatinous tissue that jiggle when you breathe too hard. Your hand brushes one. It contracts. You leap back on instinct and land splat on your rear. The lump, unbothered, slides toward the shade like a sleepy pancake. You've never seen an ecosystem like this. It's not even an ecosystem, it's a conspiracy against legs. The first big clue comes when you reach a small rise above the beach, a soft knoll padded with rubbery moss. You look out over the island. No birds, no trees, no footprints, just movement, slow, deliberate gliding shapes leaving trails of iridescence across the landscape. Even the bushes seem to pulse, shift slightly, recoil when touched. Everything here has the same tactic: don't lift, don't leap, just slide. Historians still debate whether prehistoric leglessness like this could arise from environmental isolation or a total lack of land predators. But on this island, there's no debate. The arms race skipped the legs and went straight to mucus and muscle. You start to get the feeling you're being watched and not in a spooky, shadowy horror movie. Way more like a weirdly polite curiosity. Something is definitely tracking your movement, but not stalking. Just waiting to see if you can keep up. You pause at the edge of a sunken clearing. Below, glimmering with a faint purplish hue, is a creature the size of a shopping cart that looks like someone crossbred a banana slug with a rope bridge. It's folding in on itself as it chews through a soft stalk of something not quite plant, not quite animal. When it finishes, it inches forward not one leg, just waves of muscular contraction like someone squeezing toothpaste from the inside out. You whisper to yourself, "How are you even alive?" And the creature, as if offended, lets out a fart bubble of gas from some unseen opening. You take that as your cue to move on. There are no insects here. That's what's throwing you off. No buzzing, no chirping, just distant gurgles and the faint whisper of wet movement. Every sound is either organic or you, and the beach behind you. It's already gone. The tide swallowed your tracks and left not a hint you were ever there. Odd fact of the night. Some species of sea cucumber can eject their own guts when threatened, then regrow them later like it's just a Tuesday. You're starting to wonder if anything here pulls similar stunts. You wander inland, dragging your sore legs through warm mulch. Eventually, you reach a shallow depression filled with sluggish movement, dozens of tube-shaped animals wriggling through mud like slow-motion jelly drills. Some have glows at their tips. Some are completely translucent. You crouch to examine one, and it retracts instantly like a noodle being sucked back into soup. You laugh. It's a weird, uncomfortable sound, the kind you make when you're scared but pretending not to be. "I'm not gonna hurt you," you say softly. A hiss answers you. Not a threatening one, more like someone just opened a bottle of soda really close to your ear. You spin, Nothing there. Maybe you're losing it. Maybe it's heat stroke. But as you lie down in the only dry patch of moss you've seen, one thought loops through your tired brain. Nothing here has legs because they never needed them. They never needed to run. They just waited. And now so do you. You wake to a world that hasn't moved, but you know it has. The clearing is different. The moss where you slept has shifted. It's wetter, slimier, and your backpack or whatever bag you had is missing. Gone. Just gone. You sit up slowly. Every movement sends a reminder that you're not built for this place. Your joints creak. Your muscles protest, and everything you touch gives a little too much, like sleeping on a waterbed filled with tapioca. The air here doesn't smell wrong, it smells too clean. No rot, no ozone, just dampness and a faint sweetness like cucumber peel left in the sun. You realize something's off. You haven't heard a single footfall, not yours, not anyone's. Even when you dragged yourself earlier, you made no real noise. Because this island is quiet in a way that's deeply unsettling. No birds cackle overhead, no lizards scamper. Nothing cracks twigs or crunches leaves because nothing steps, ever. You begin to crawl forward, arms doing the work, while your knees protest with the bitter resentment of someone asked to stand at a concert. The underbrush parts without effort. There's no resistance. It's like the whole forest has learned not to interrupt movement. No snapping branches, no bruising leaves, just gentle give and let go. You brush aside a low-hanging vine and discover it's not a vine. It retracts immediately, slinking back into the trunk of what you thought was a tree. Nope, that's a creature. Long, photosynthetic, and mildly annoyed. You laugh. It slips out loud and surprised. You are very much alone, but something about this place makes your voice sound intrusive, like you just coughed during a funeral. You try whispering instead. Even that feels too loud. Here, everything moves, but without walking. Sliding through the dense brush, you begin to see patterns, grooves in the earth, worn smooth by generations of crawling things. These are highways, just not the kind you're used to. They're narrow, low, and damp, polished by thousands of sticky bellies. In the middle of one trail is a creature the size of a fire hydrant, pale pink and glistening, dragging itself by the force of its own contracting ridges. You stare. It blinks, with its entire back. Just a brief ripple, like it sighed through its spine. You nod politely because, well, what else do you do? Modern zoologists have documented isolated island environments where flightless birds outcompeted their winged ancestors simply because flight became inefficient. On this island, legs were just inefficient. Standing made you unstable, vulnerable. Why balance on two when you can coat yourself in mucus and slither forever? Historians still debate whether isolation created this evolutionary path, or if an ancient cataclysm stripped the island down to its simplest survivors, legless burrowers and sea slugs that simply never left the ground. You keep moving. There's no path, but every direction feels strangely welcoming. The ground rolls in lazy waves beneath you, as if guiding your weight toward a destination you haven't chosen. The wind's still missing, and now you realize there's no sound of the ocean either. The silence is complete. Even your heartbeat feels like a violation. Eventually, you reach a ridge. It's not very high. Just enough to give you a glimpse of what lies ahead. A wide basin filled with coiling, pulsing, slow-motion life. Some of it is bright green, some mud-colored, some nearly translucent like blobs of hair gel. None of it has legs. Some of it shouldn't even be alive. Below, you watch as a massive python-like creature unfurls itself from under a pile of leaf matter. Its skin is glassy and wrinkled like melted vinyl. A small slug approaches it. For a moment, they just acknowledge each other. Then the python creature opens a slit along its side and absorbs the slug. No chewing, no swallowing, just assimilation, like accepting a download. You whisper nope and back away, heart pounding. Odd fact of the day. The velvet worm, a real-life invertebrate, shoots slime at its prey to immobilize it, kind of like Spider-Man if he were cold, wet, and had no spine. Something about this island makes you think that's probably considered polite. As you round the ridge and begin to descend, your hand brushes another slime trail. It's warm, again, fresh, and thicker this time. The creature it belongs to is close, very close, but you hear nothing, not even a breath. Then you see it. On the far side of the basin, sliding slowly through a field of twitching moss, is the biggest thing you've ever seen without legs. It moves like a mile-long earthworm body segmented like ancient armor. Its skin is mottled gray and pink, with streaks of something that looks like tree bark. And from its head, or what you assume is its head, a pair of tendrils wave gently tasting the air. It leaves no path of destruction behind it, just glistening peace. You realize something strange: this island isn't dangerous because of its predators. It's dangerous because of its silence. Because once you stop walking, you start sliding. And something in you is already starting to forget how to stand. You tell yourself you're only following the trail out of curiosity. Not because you're scared, not because you're slowly adapting to crawling, even though the soles of your feet have started to feel redundant. The creature ahead, is one longer than a houseboat, has left behind a path so wide it could fit a railway. You shuffle along its glistening trench, careful not to slip. The moss here is different, waxy, padded, designed for something heavy and legless to pass without sound. The trail winds toward a low hill, and at the top you stop. Not because you're tired, but because of what lies ahead. It's a valley of giants, dozens of them. Massive, slow-breathing creatures stretched like enormous sausages in the morning fog. All legless, all unique. One has dorsal plates like folded umbrellas. Another is so flat and wide it looks like a shag rug that got up and left a 1970s living room. They do not fight, they do not hurry. They graze, if you can call it that, by extending proboscis-like tubes into the moss-sucking nutrients from somewhere below. None of them seem to notice you, or if they do, they don't care. Which is honestly a little rude. You wonder how an entire biosphere reached this size without competition. The answer oozes right in front of you. No running, no sprinting, no ambushes. Here, evolution favored patience over speed, endurance over agility. You think back to prehistoric North America, where hadrosaurs stampeded and raptors darted through ferns. Here, no stampedes, no thunderous feet. The biggest sound in this valley is a soft slurp, like someone sipping yogurt through a straw. Modern evolutionary biologists have speculated about environments where land-based gigantism could evolve without legs, especially in nutrient-dense, low-friction habitats like ancient peat bogs. But this valley, it's the thesis statement of that entire theory. Historians still debate whether these organisms are related to any known fossil lineage, or whether they represent a completely separate evolutionary experiment. A branch so weird it went unnoticed because it never left this place. As you ease into the edge of the field, your fingers brush against something unnatural, smooth, angular, and cold. You look down. Glass. Not just any glass, a jagged triangle of what looks like a broken visor or lens. You pick it up. A faint smear of dried algae clings to one edge, along with something that looks suspiciously like rust. It's a clue. A whisper from another arrival, maybe another human, maybe not recent. You pocket the shard just in case and turn back to the scene before you. The largest creature, let's call it the monarch slug, has shifted its bulk toward a small grove of glowing fungi. It moves so slowly you could read a novel before it reaches its dinner, but you're mesmerized. Its skin peels and waves, sloughing off translucent film that dissolves into the soil behind it. You wonder if that's waste or offspring. Suddenly, a sharp pop, like a soda can opening, breaks the silence. Every creature in the valley freezes. For 5 full minutes, nothing moves. Even the mist holds still. Then from beneath the moss, something enormous rises. It doesn't make sense. You've seen giant slugs and worm things already, but this thing unfolds in segments like a slinky made of wet armor. It has no visible mouth, only slits along its side that pulse with light. As it moves forward, the others slowly part, allowing it through. It glides toward a dark mound of earth, then stops. The mound quivers, expands, and begins to unwrap itself. It's not Earth. It's another creature. Bigger, older. You press yourself into the ground, barely daring to breathe. Odd fact of the night. The blue whale is the largest animal ever known, but it's limited to water. Here, without the burden of legs or the restriction of bone's size, seems to have no rules. Everything here stretches, expands, and spreads. The two titans don't fight, they just exchange something. A ripple of heat, a tremor in the moss, the way two magnets repel and yet communicate their presence. You lie there unsure whether you're witnessing courtship, a power struggle, or just prehistoric gossip. A smaller creature only the size of a mattress crawls up beside you. Its eyes are set deep in the folds of gelatin, blinking sideways. It doesn't seem hostile, just curious. You whisper, "Hey there," and it responds by releasing a puff of steam that smells like hot spinach. You're oddly touched, but then it nudges you, gently, as if checking whether you're planning to move again. You try to stand up. Bad idea. Your legs buckle instantly. The creature huffs and slithers away in what can only be described as passive-aggressive disappointment. You remain on all fours, heart thumping. You're not injured, just off balance, as if your inner ear has recalibrated, as if standing up is suddenly the wrong way to be. You slide backward, crawl over to a warm patch of moss and lie down. Staring at the pale sky above you, begin to feel the rhythm of this place, the pulse, the silence, and the overwhelming sense that everything here already knows you're not from around here, but they're willing to let you stay. For now, you wake up in darkness, but it's not night. It's something else, something deeper. The light hasn't vanished, it's been swallowed. You blink, but your eyes are open. The forest has closed above you. Not with trees, not with branches, but with muscle, with earth, with living things that don't seem to care whether it's daytime or not. The ground beneath you pulses, not quickly, slowly, like a heartbeat slowed down 100 times. You press your palms into it. It pushes back. Welcome to the underground. You didn't fall. You were pulled gradually as you slept. Dragged down on a slope you didn't notice into a dense tangle of tubes and hollow roots and tunnels just wide enough for something your size. You whisper, "Oh, perfect," but even your sarcasm sounds muffled here, as if the space prefers quiet. Your breath bounces back to you, damp and warm like someone else's exhale. You shuffle forward. You don't really have a choice. Behind you, the tunnel has sealed. There's only one way to go now, into the belly of the earth. You inch along on your elbows, the slime-laced floor giving just enough to be unnerving. At one point, you feel something brush your ankle, soft and coiling. You kick. Nothing there. The tunnel narrows, then widens again, like breathing. And then you hear it, a hiss that sounds more like boiling soup than anything alive. It's ahead, and moving. You freeze. Your instincts scream at you to run, but there's nowhere to run to. So you keep moving. Quietly, carefully. The hiss gets louder, then stops. A new sound rises, thuds, but not the stomping kind. It's wet percussion. Something massive is undulating across a side corridor. You press your ear to the tunnel wall. It's warm. It pulses. You realize the tunnel is the creature. You are inside it. Historians still debate whether these kinds of semi-organic burrowers existed in the late Paleozoic period, or whether they're more of a fringe theory built on misunderstood trace fossils. You'd argue in favor of yes, given your current living accommodations. You press forward, crawling until your fingers hit something hard bone. No, chitin. A pile of molted armor plates stacked like broken dinnerware in a side chamber. Something once lived here. Or still does. You don't wait to find out. After a while, the tunnel spits you into a cavern so wide you can't see the other end. It glows faintly from what you first mistake as glowing rocks, but no. They're creatures, dozens, maybe hundreds, all curled, all asleep, all watching with eyes closed. At the center is a spiral pit, a sinkhole, ringed with a lip of writhing flesh like a flower in slow bloom. You approach it because that's what this story demands now. One step, another. You peer inside. And down there, far below, beneath folds of living rock and mist, you see a predator. It's not crawling, it's waiting. A shape long and pale coils in a slow loop twice the diameter of a subway train. No eyes, no jaws, just smooth, twitching flesh and a ring of needle-fine hairs that tremble at your presence. You step back slowly. Too late. The hairs pulse in unison. The creature turns not with a head, but with its whole body. Like a blind eel trained to recognize the temperature of foreign blood. It rises slow and majestic. Odd fact of the night. Some prehistoric predatory worms had jaws made of hardened protein, not bone. They left almost no fossil record. Most of what we know comes from their feeding tunnels straight deep, and always just wide enough for one meal to pass through. You don't want to be that meal. You crawl faster now, every limb burning, but your mind more awake than it's ever been. You hit a slope, steep, muddy, lined with what might be teeth or might be roots, and you slide upward somehow, the tunnel pulling you back toward the surface. The hiss behind you doesn't follow. Not because it's given up, but because you've passed the boundary. The line. The place where the burrower's rule ends. And now you're back on the surface. The light is different. Dimmer. As if the sky knows what you've seen and feels ashamed. You roll over, gasping, covered in warm moss and sticky film, and stare up at a single vine curling lazily in the breeze. A breeze. That's new. You whisper, "You've got to be kidding," and laugh. The sound echoes. A creature beside you lifts its head. It looks like a giant noodle with a nose and lets out a wheezy honk, like an old clarinet falling apart. You both freeze. Then it slides away, clearly unimpressed. You're not the scariest thing here, not by a long shot. You lie there for a moment, breathing the heavy air, letting your skin cool, wondering how many more times you're going to nearly die before you understand this place. Because this island doesn't want you dead. Not exactly. It just wants you changed. You lie still for a long time, unsure if your body is resting or just refusing further orders. Your back aches, your knees burn. And somewhere beneath your shoulder blades, a dull throb keeps pace with the island's rhythm, slow pulsing, insistent. Eventually, you push yourself upright, your elbows doing most of the work. The act of standing feels ridiculous now, like trying to balance on chopsticks. So you don't. You crawl. Naturally, without question. Up ahead, the moss clears into shallow pools, stagnant amber-colored water encased in gelatinous films. They shimmer in the filtered light, bubbling gently as if exhaling in their sleep. The smell is tangy, not unpleasant, like vinegar and seaweed. This must have been a sea once. A shallow inland basin choked by time, dried out, swallowed again, and left to stew. You ease up to the edge of one pool and look in. Below the surface, dozens of legless creatures writhe, not swimming, just squirming in dense, syrupy layers. Some are as small as garden worms, others the size of truck tires. You spot no eyes, no mouths, just rings of cilia flexing to stir the water. A small one surfaces, presses against the air, like a hand on glass, then sinks again. Historians still debate whether prehistoric isolation was enough to stunt the emergence of limbs, or if the island's unique environment somehow favored regeneration, flattening, and flexing over articulation. This place seems to prove both. Limbs here would be liabilities. You continue on, slowly. The land begins to rise, lifting you toward the edge of an ancient tidal shelf. The moss changes, thicker now, mottled with dark patches and splotches that recoil as you pass like bruises, healing in reverse. At the top of the shelf, you finally see it, a petrified coastline broken into terraces. The stone is slick, but not from water. Slime. Dried into crystal sheets that glint like quartz. You step onto the surface and instantly regret it. Every movement sends echoes through your body like walking barefoot on old bubble wrap. Still, you continue sliding carefully over the ridgeline. And there it is, the island's heart. Not a volcano, not a crater, a basin the size of a football field sunken into the land like a giant's thumbprint. At its center, a spiraling depression filled with concentric rings of glistening motion. It moves like the iris of an eye trying to focus. You descend slowly, drawn by something you don't fully understand. Each ring of the spiral holds different species, legless, of course, but each stranger than the last. One layer is filled with translucent creatures shaped like question marks pulsing in synchronized waves. Another holds something that resembles animate pancakes, flat-breathing membranes flopping gently in the sun. And near the center, a creature unlike any you've seen yet. It's huge, but not tall. A puddle more than a form. Its skin is dimpled and opalescent like the surface of a pearl. Tendrils rise and fall from its center, retracting and unfurling with lazy grace. You stare. It stares back, or you feel it does. There are no visible eyes, but you are seen. Then movement beside you. Something slides into view low and slow. You freeze, heart ticking louder than the island's rhythm. It's not attacking, it's watching with you. A creature as long as a city bus flesh patterned like peeling bark. It pulls up beside you, then lowers its head until it's level with your own. You whisper, "Hi," because what else do you say to something like that? Odd fact of the day. In the late Devonian period, certain species of fish lost their fins entirely as they evolved into burrowers, not walkers, not swimmers, just diggers. Evolution doesn't always build up. Sometimes it collapses in. The creature beside you nudges your arm gently, encouraging, not hostile, not curious, companionable. It wants you to follow. So you do. It guides you along the spiral, closer and closer to the center. As you go, the rings around you begin to hum. Soft tones, not quite musical, not random either. Communication, or something else, something deeper. Cellular, emotional. At the core, the puddle creature shifts. The tendrils retreat. A hollow opens. Not threatening, not hungry, inviting. The creature beside you leans in, nudges again. You hesitate, then crawl forward. You reach the edge of the hollow and peer in. Darkness, not absence. Density, the kind of black that swallows sound and thought. And from within it, a soft exhale. Not air, memory. Your body locks, not in fear, but recognition. You've never been here, but somehow you remember. You close your eyes, and the ground hums under your hands like an old engine warming up for a long journey. The trees here are liars. You learn that fast. They look like trees. Tall, twisting trunks wrapped in spiraling coils with something vaguely like leaves fanning out at the top. But as you approach, one of them slowly untwists and slithers away. You blink, rub your eyes, and laugh softly because, of course, they're not trees. Why would anything stand still on an island where nothing walks? You reach out and touch a nearby trunk. It's warm. Not bark skin, living, breathing, pulsing skin. And it curls slightly beneath your hand. The entire forest is moving. Slowly, silently. Not in circles, not with any urgency, just an endless migration of roots that are also tentacles of limbs that pretend to be branches of plants that eat light and meat when it suits them. One curls around your wrist, not tight, not cruel, just curious. You ease it off gently and keep crawling. There's no wind here, just drifting spore clouds that glow like dust motes in a dream. They stick to your skin, making everything shimmer with faint blues and greens. The creatures here don't use scent like mammals. They shine, like underwater plankton, like a disco where the music is just breath and heartbeat. A spiral vine slithers across your path. It moves like a dancer, each coil lifting, then folding in rhythm. Its tip flares briefly, photosynthetic panels, opening like fingers toward the dim light above. You realize it's feeding not from the ground, but from the air, the glow, the presence of things nearby, you included. Historians still debate whether such organisms could evolve through symbiosis between flora and fauna, whether the earliest photosynthetic life branched into more than two kingdoms in some isolated corners of the world. And here you're watching that debate slither past with leafy antennae. You follow. Every step or crawl really takes you deeper into the strangest place yet. Trees that hunt, bushes that shift, canopies that listen. Odd fact of the night. Some sea slugs like the Elysia chlorotica can photosynthesize by stealing genes from algae. They literally eat sunlight and DNA at the same time. Makes you wonder what genes these creatures are borrowing. You reach a glade where the trees are resting, coiled together like a nest of snakes. In the center, a pond almost perfectly round, still, reflecting nothing, like a portal someone forgot to activate. You lean over the edge expecting to see yourself. You don't. Instead, you see another face, human, not yours. You jolt backward, but it vanishes. A ripple, a trick maybe. Or maybe something beneath the surface wants to remember people. Something rustles behind you. You turn slowly, expecting another silent giant, another noodle-shaped guardian. What you get is a bundle of vines dragging something. Metal. Your breath catches. It's a hatch, circular, old, dented, coated in dried slime and moss, but unmistakably artificial, bolted in place with rusted clasps. A faded sticker peels along its edge, unreadable. You reach out, but the vines draw it back protectively. So instead you whisper, "I'm not here to steal, just to remember." The vines hesitate, then unwind. You touch the hatch. It's colder than anything you've felt in days. It opens with a wet hiss. Inside, darkness. A chamber lined with organic-looking cables. Not vines this time, tubes, grown or placed, you can't tell. In the center, a chair, a harness, the kind used for deep dives or launch pods. You crawl inside. The walls hum softly, vibrating at a frequency just low enough to be comforting, like a heartbeat, or distant thunder. There are scratches on the interior wall, tally marks maybe. Dozens, hundreds, too many. You run your hand across the worn leather of the chair. Someone sat here a long time, maybe waiting, maybe escaping, or maybe watching. You lean back, letting the harness hold your weight. And in that moment, the trees outside rise slightly, lifting their branches. Not as a warning, but as a signal. The glade darkens. A chorus begins, not music, but movement. The forest dances. You lie still. Something warm begins to coat your arms. A gentle layer of gel. Protective, familiar. Like the island is tucking you in. Your eyelids go heavy. The hum grows louder. Not threatening, just there, steady. And for the first time since you arrived, you stop wondering how to leave. You just listen. You don't dream. Or maybe you do, but the island eats them before they reach you. You wake up inside the hatch again, though you could swear it's changed. It's warmer. The cables pulse, now dimly lit like veins filled with fireflies. Outside, the glade sways gently. Everything's moved again, but without sound, without urgency. You crawl out, still wrapped in a thin film of that protective gel. It smells like mushrooms and mint. Somehow you don't mind it anymore. The forest has thinned. The canopy pulls back to reveal a pale green sky. You're higher up now on a ridge overlooking what looks like the mouth of a canyon but not made of rock. It's flesh. A gaping trench lined with thick, ridged walls that twitch now and then like a sleeping throat. You laugh nervously. This island has a serious problem with architecture. No response, of course. You glance down the slope and notice something strange. Movement, but not animal, sponge. A slow, wobbling creature, round and faceless, the color of dry bone, pulses across the clearing. It doesn't move with limbs, doesn't even slide. It just shifts, like it's teleporting by fractions of an inch. You freeze, because somehow you know it's watching you. It has no eyes, no features, just texture, like a wrinkled bedsheet balled up in disgust. And yet you feel its attention like a heat lamp focused on your chest. It doesn't stop moving. You back away, slowly, carefully, but not too fast because that seems rude here. It glides after you, always keeping the exact same distance. Historians still debate whether early multicellular life could have evolved complex sensory perception without eyes. This thing is Exhibit A for yes, and it's not thrilled you're asking. You duck under a low arch of living root and begin sliding down the slope toward the canyon mouth. Behind you, the faceless sponge continues a silent white shadow that refuses to blink. When you reach the edge, you hesitate. The canyon's interior glows faintly lined with bioluminescent threads that shift color as you breathe near them. They're tuned to biology responding to warmth, movement, and tension. You say out loud, "I'm not dinner." And one of the threads pulses pink, then blue, then stills. Fair enough. You ease into the canyon. Odd fact of the night. The Venus flytrap's leaves close within milliseconds thanks to specialized cells that sense contact without a central nervous system. It's nature's version of, "I don't need a brain to know you touched me." This place feels like that. Smart, but not centralized. You shuffle deeper. The canyon tightens. The ground here is sticky, soaked with moisture, coated in a soft, fibrous mat like soaking wet carpet. It squeaks beneath you. Above the walls of the trench flex, gently releasing long, low exhales that sound almost like sighs. You're not inside a beast. You're inside a system. A place that never needed bones or mouths or even names. A low hum begins behind you. You don't turn around. You don't have to. The sponge has followed. It hovers near the trench's lip, now pulsing with a faint orange glow. It waits. You press forward. At the bottom of the trench is a hollow rimmed with what look like teeth but are soft to the touch. Inside, an egg, just one. It's not small. It's the size of a beach ball. Translucent. Inside, something stirs. Gently, like a slow-motion heartbeat. You whisper, "You've got to be kidding me," because you already know what's coming next. The egg shifts, then pops. Not a violent shatter, just a soft release, like a bubble bursting underwater. And what emerges is not what you expected. It's a smaller version of the sponge. Faceless, wrinkled, pale. It glides past you and the larger one retreats to make room. A slow exchange as if age is being traded in for youth. You feel something prick your spine, not pain. Pressure, a realization. This is reproduction without birth. Legacy without death. One becomes another not by dying but by stepping aside. Historians call it pseudo-replication. Some colonial organisms on Earth do something similar. Hydrocoral. Polyps, even slime molds. You feel your own cells stir uneasily at the idea. The canyon hums louder. From above, vines begin to descend, gentle, slow, draping themselves like curtains. You're being closed in. Not trapped, included. And then, without warning, the trench lifts. Not physically, but perceptually. The walls blur, the light shifts, and you realize you're no longer in a place. You're in a body. This isn't a canyon, it's a chamber. And you're not a visitor anymore. You're curled in a chamber shaped like a memory. The walls are pulsing gently now, like they're breathing with you or teaching you how to breathe differently. Every few seconds, a slow vibration runs down the vine-draped ceiling, not unlike a heartbeat or the last note of a lullaby being played on a cello made of moss. The sponge creature has gone. So has the egg. Or maybe they never were. It's hard to tell what's real when even the walls seem to change shape based on your mood. Right now they're soft, yielding, almost maternal. You try to sit up and fail, not from injury, just reluctance. Your limbs feel distant as though they're not yours anymore, but ideas your body is slowly letting go of. Your legs have grown quiet, restful, at peace. It doesn't bother you like it should. Somewhere nearby, a low sound rises. Not a voice, a song. Not made with lungs, but with resonance echoes passing through thousands of tiny vibrating hairs woven through the chamber walls. You listen, and you understand nothing. But you feel it anyway. It's not a song for you, it's a song for everything. For the walls, for the creatures, For the air itself, it's a hymn of hydration, of transformation, of remembering the sea. A reminder that everything on this island once slithered from water and simply refused to evolve feet. And here's the weirdest part they could have. They just didn't. Odd fact of the night. There's a species of blind cave salamander, Proteus anguinus, that can go over a decade without eating. It doesn't walk much either, but it does live to be over 100 years old. Sometimes evolution doesn't reward movement. It rewards patience. You begin to crawl again, dragging yourself along the soft ridge of the chamber toward a place where the wall seems thinner. The song follows you not louder, just closer, like it wants to stay near, like it wants you to remember it. You reach the exit. It's not a door. It's a membrane, warm and slightly damp like the inside of a cheek. You press through. It lets you. Outside is not what you expected. It's dusk. A dusky world that glows not with sunset but with bioluminescence. Every bush is twinkling. Every creature is softly shining. The forest has become a constellation pressed against the skin of the earth. And in the middle of it all, slugs. Big ones, small ones, transparent ones, feathered ones, singing ones. You've arrived at the slug choir. They're lined in rows across the clearing, arranged like coral polyps, with their mucus trails forming perfect spirals around a central pool of warm, shining liquid. You inch closer, awestruck. Then they begin. One slug hums, and its entire body ripples. The sound it makes is deep, round, like someone strumming a cello underwater. Another joins in slightly higher. Then another and another, until you're surrounded by a living chorus of harmonizing tubes. You lie back, unable to move, unwilling to interrupt. The sound isn't just heard, it's felt. Each tone seems to vibrate something deep in your bones if you still have bones. Hard to tell these days. Historians still debate whether early invertebrates communicated with sound or light. Many of today's soft-bodied marine animals, cuttlefish, octopuses, use flashes of color and pulses, but this is both. A total sensory language. One slug inches towards you. It's small, about the size of a toaster, and its body glows a soft orange. It hums alone just once. The note seems to hold a question. You hum back. It seems satisfied. It slinks forward, nudges your side, and rests against you. Its body is warm. You're not sure if it's bonding with you or just claiming a good seat, but you're oddly okay with either. Together you watch as the rest of the island begins to join in, creatures glowing from their throats or their backs, harmonizing through synchronized contractions, forming a slow rolling symphony of pulses. It's not music made for ears. It's music made for touch. You lie there glowing now yourself just a little. And for the first time since you arrived, you stop asking questions. You just feel. You don't know how long you stay there. Hours, days, minutes. The island has no clocks. But when the last note fades and the slugs begin to coil inward for their nightly sleep, one thing is clear. You're part of the chorus now. You move differently now. Not just because your legs are weaker, though they are, but because crawling feels natural, efficient, gentle on the ground, respectful to the slime-coated trails that curve around trees that breathe and puddles that whisper. You don't stomp here, you flow. It's been what days, weeks time is a rumor on this island, and the sun only rises when it feels like being social. Your skin is tacky, layered with a subtle gel from the forest air. Your breath is slower, your thoughts less sharp but more tuned. You've stopped expecting things to happen fast or loudly. That would be rude. And in that spirit, you realize something new. This place hunts in silence. You notice it during your morning crawl. Yes, you've adopted the term morning based on the light quality, not any objective schedule. You're sliding along a trail left by a series of large ridged worms, hoping to scavenge some of the cooling moisture from their slime ruts. You bend low, press your palms against the moss, and pause. The moss is breathing. Not in a poetic, the earth is alive kind of way. Literally, it inhales your presence. And just as you recoil, something strikes. Not violently, no screech, no rustle, just a tug. You whip your head around and see it a net of translucent tendrils rising from the moss, closing around something small and unfortunate. A pink, wet creature the size of a rat squeals once, then stops. The moss folds over it like a closing fist. Gone. You whisper, "Oh no," but even your sympathy feels intrusive. The moss ripples once more, then goes still again. Predation here doesn't chase, it waits, ambushes, paralyzes, digests. Historians still debate whether slow-motion ecosystems could produce apex predators without jaws or claws. The answer glistens all around you. Yes, predators here don't run after prey. They wait for it to become slow enough. Odd fact of the day. The cone snail shoots venomous harpoons into prey with enough potency to kill a human, all while looking like a bored rock. It doesn't pursue. It simply waits for arrogance to come close enough to punish. You take a different trail after that. Your crawl leads you toward the edge of a low ridge where the forest thins into a salt-flat, white, gritty, and damp. You blink against the brightness. It's the first space that feels truly open. Then you see the bones. Not many, just a few. Long, smooth, not fossilized, fresh even. But there's something wrong about them. They're leg bones. Old, dry, too light to be real anymore, but unmistakably shaped for standing. Knees, ankles, hips, a pelvis built for upright life. You freeze. You're not alone. Or at least you weren't. Then across the salt flats, something glides into view. Fast, almost too fast. A blur of pale skin and long, writhing muscles. It doesn't move like a slug. Doesn't undulate like a worm. It darts. Spirals, doubles back, and its shape is wrong. Angular, bony. It has limbs, sort of. You duck low behind a half-buried rib cage. Peering out, you get a better look. It's like a salamander designed by someone who never met a vertebrate. Its limbs twitch, not walk. It uses its hands, yes, hands, to pull itself, but the motions are erratic, uncertain, noisy. It doesn't belong here. You realize this creature's trying to run in a world that doesn't run. And it's failing, slipping, getting caught in roots, slamming into low-hanging vines that recoil in offense. Everything here rejects it. Even the salt hisses beneath its limbs. It finally collapses near a shallow pool, heaving its twitching limbs dragging behind like regrets. You approach slowly, curiosity overriding caution. It sees you. Barely. Its eyes, too round, too human, flutter weakly. A rasping noise escapes its throat. It opens its mouth. Words, no, just breath. Then it dies. Not dramatically, just ceases. Like a wrong answer erased from a chalkboard. The pool beside it absorbs the body without a ripple, as if to say, "We'll take that back, thanks." You stare at the pool for a long time, because now you understand. This island doesn't kill creatures with legs, it simply refuses them. It uninvites them. It lets them struggle until they're so exhausted they offer themselves up. And it leaves no remains, except those few dry bones as a polite reminder. You back away slowly. Your knees don't bend right anymore. Your legs are something you remember using. Now you drag, like everything else. And it feels easier, more correct. The sky turns green again. Not the lush green of a spring leaf or the synthetic flicker of a digital screen. This is a thick green, like algae smeared across glass, like light filtered through pond water. It doesn't radiate, it seeps. You've made peace with it. The sky changes color when it wants. There's no sun here, just moods. But today the island is bracing for something. The moss has thickened into sponges. Creatures that usually sprawl lazily in the open are pulling into spirals. Even the trees, that is the legless things that pretend to be trees, are lowering their tops toward the ground, coiling like ferns, preparing for a punch. You feel it too in your belly. The air is hot but not warm. It's heavy, like it's trying to lie on top of you. And then you hear it. A distant groan. Long, low, subsonic. You look toward the horizon and the sky is boiling. There's no other word for it. A wall of water taller than the ridge surging forward with the patience of a planet. Not a wave that crashes. A flood that arrives. You don't run. You can't. You crawl into the nearest depression, a trench lined with mucus-tiled scales, and tuck yourself low. The ground around you pulses in sympathy. All across the island, everything knows. This isn't unusual. It's scheduled. Odd fact of the night. The Earth's prehistoric megacyclones once reshaped entire coastlines overnight, drowning forests and relocating swamps. Some creatures evolved not to survive them but to expect them. Amphibians that bred only in post-storm puddles. Insects whose eggs only hatched after rain. Historians still debate whether ancient flood cycles created isolated ecosystems in this way. Little evolutionary islands where evolution rewound and played again. Now it plays you. The storm arrives not with a scream but with a breath. The water rolls in smooth as glass, swallowing everything it touches. The trench fills up around you. You don't resist. The liquid is thick, not salty, not fresh. A broth of proteins and memory. Warm like blood and full of slow-moving shadows. You hold your breath. It doesn't help. The water isn't trying to drown you, it's tasting you. For a few timeless moments, your ears fill. Your skin tingles and your thoughts don't feel quite your own. You're suspended, weightless, boneless. You're not scared. You should be, but fear doesn't work here. It just evaporates. The storm passes gently, not in minutes or hours, but when it's done, when it's satisfied. The water drains not into the sea but back into the island, soaked into the earth, the roots, the waiting mouths of legless things that feed once a cycle and then forget they ever hungered. You crawl out of your trench, dripping with the thick storm soup now steaming in the air. Above you, the sky is shifting to lavender. The trees uncoil, the moss sighs, the forest is reborn. And you are too a little. A slug the size of a duffel bag wiggles past you and lets out a sound like a yawn mixed with a question. You reply with a grunt. It seems satisfied. The flood washed away your trail, your dried skin, your last real memories of walking. You remember shoes. That's all? Just shoes. You chuckle, almost embarrassed. What were those even for? The island doesn't answer. It doesn't have to. You crawl forward, belly low back loose, and spot something strange in the soft mud ahead. A hatchling. Not a creature, an object. Round, smooth, metal. You pull it gently from the muck. It's a satellite dish, small, weather-worn, not prehistoric. It has a tag still legible, Project E. Ocrawl. Specimen Site 3. Dated, long ago. Long after dinosaurs, long before you. Someone came here before. Maybe more than once, maybe many times. And then, like you, they never left. Maybe they didn't want to. The slug beside you nudges the dish, then slides over it, absorbing it into the trail as if to say, "We remember, but we don't keep." You nod. You get it now. The flood wasn't punishment. It was renewal. A biome doesn't survive by resisting. It survives by forgetting the shapes that don't belong. The storm has forgotten your shape too. And you're grateful. You're not who you were when you arrived. That much is obvious now. Your spine curves differently. Your shoulders have slid forward, arms stronger from dragging than they ever were from lifting. You breathe more through your skin than your nose. When you catch your reflection fleetingly in the surface of a slime pool, you barely recognize the outline. A silhouette of someone adapted or someone surrendering. And today something new happens. You find the egg. Again. But this one's different. It's not translucent, it's black. Matte. The surface is dry and cracked like over-baked bread. And it's warm not from the sun but from something within. You reach for it and then freeze. Because the egg twitches. Not hatching, not alive, not yet. It's remembering. The forest around you goes quiet. Even the ever-squishing, never-footed movement halts. The air thickens. And you know whatever's inside this egg doesn't belong. Not yet. You draw back slowly, and the egg begins to change. It doesn't crack or pop. It melts. The surface runs down in slow, greasy ribbons, revealing something inside that isn't fully formed. A shape with almost limbs, almost eyes, almost meaning. It looks like you, sort of. A pre-you. A practice you, built from memory and mucus. It opens its mouth if it's a mouth and you hear words, not aloud, but deep in your brain like a dream shouting from far away. We tried legs once. You go cold. The creature continues forming awkwardly, wetly, like clay refusing to cooperate. It moves wrong. Sharp instead of soft. Linear instead of fluid. It grunts as if every movement is a confession. And you understand. This is a rejected shape, a failed prototype. Historians still debate whether early land creatures evolved limbs once or multiple times independently. The fossil record suggests different solutions arose in isolation: tentacles, flippers, stumps, fins, feet. Maybe in some places they evolved and then were unevolved. Like here. This egg thing is the memory of a mistake. You crawl backward, slowly. The creature, your broken reflection, reaches for you, not with intent, just motion. It doesn't follow. It can't. You don't belong to it. Not anymore. Odd fact of the night. Some jellyfish are considered immortal. They revert to earlier life stages instead of dying. Instead of progressing, they loop. Maybe this island does the same. Maybe you're not here to become something new. Maybe you're here to become something older. You leave the egg behind. As you crawl, the forest resumes its chorus, a soft, almost musical vibration in the air like sighing through wet paper. The light filters down now in gold shafts that catch on every ripple of slime. It's beautiful and terrifying because you realize you weren't sent here. You were called. By what? A signal. A pattern. A failure passed down like a bedtime story through generations of slugs and tendrils. No, by this place, this ecosystem, this idea, the idea that life doesn't have to lift itself. It can lie down and thrive. You pass a vine that waves gently in your direction, not beckoning, just acknowledging. The same way you nod to someone at a bus stop you're not planning to speak to. You nod back. The creature beneath your belly, a flat, pancake-shaped crawler, carries you a few feet, then lowers you again. Like a taxi, but moist and alive, you whisper thanks. You're polite now. The polite don't get eaten. Ahead, a new scent rises. It smells like metal. That's rare. You round a thick loop of root and find a pile of rusted panels. Machinery half dissolved. Solar cells warped and curling like leaves. Something that once transmitted signals now pulses only with fungus. A helmet lies in the center. Not ancient, not modern either. Mid-century something. A logo barely visible. Crawl Biolabs. Interface attempted Matu. Underneath a name, scrawled in marker, faded. You pick up the helmet. And you remember? Not details, just the shape of knowing. The idea of purpose, of observation, of trying to understand something that never needed understanding. You don't put it on. It would be rude. Instead, you bury it. With moss, with care. Not to hide it, but to return it. The ground softens beneath your fingers, accepting the gesture. And you feel lighter, less human, and somehow more you than ever. You crawl now without thinking. It's no longer adaptation, it's rhythm. Your arms move like pistons. Your belly slides in harmony with the moss. Every breath feels filtered, every blink syncs with the pulse of the vines overhead. You're part of the crawl, part of the quiet tide, which is why it's so strange when something breaks the pattern. You hear at first a click, sharp, dry, rhythmic. Click, click, click. It's coming from ahead just beyond a bend in the trail, a narrow channel where translucent ferns weave across your path like dangling question marks. The sound continues. Click, click, then a pause. Curiosity gets the better of you. You ease forward, parting the plants, and freeze. There's a creature, flat, pale, and moving with short, stiff motions unlike anything else on this island. It jerks along the ground with tiny, snapping jaws that click each time they touch the earth. No slime, no slide, just force, just purpose. It's like watching someone tap Morse code with their face, and then it stops. It turns toward you. No eyes, no head. Just a round central body and dozens of snipping jaws clicking in unison. Click, 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 click. It's speaking. To you. But you don't speak click. You respond the only way you can by crawling closer slowly, with your arms spread low in submission. The thing watches, then emits a long, high whistle that makes the moss around it shiver and part. The jaws stop clicking. It glides forward now. Smoother, less aggressive. And then strangely, it bows. It bends its body down, opens its circular mouth of clicking jaws like a flower, and spits out something round and metallic. It rolls toward you warm in the moss. You pick it up. It's a lens. A camera lens cracked and corroded. You hold it up to your eye. The world through it is brighter, sharper, more artificial. You blink, and suddenly you remember footage. Not yours, someone else's. Brief flashes, scientists speaking in code probes being launched, voices over radio saying things like specimen integration status and non-standard morphology response. Someone filmed this island. They wanted to record what happened to you. Odd fact of the night. Colonial flatworms can form decentralized neural networks, meaning they can learn from each other without ever having a brain. Just contact, just shared pathways. You think the clicking creature just shared memory. You set the lens down gently and watch as the creature absorbs it again like a gift you were meant to hold only briefly. It clicks once more, a single final note, and slides away. You follow its trail, which leads to a place unlike any you've seen before. The colony. That's what you call it in your head. It's a ring of gelatinous creatures arranged in a loose spiral, each one no bigger than a cantaloupe. They pulse, they hum, they glow faintly in sync. You realize there's no leader, no queen, no hierarchy. But everything here knows what to do. They move in a slow dance, trading places, folding over one another, sharing nutrients and signals and stories through osmosis. And at the center, an empty space. You crawl toward it almost reverently. As you enter the spiral, the creatures part gently, like a crowd making way for someone who doesn't know they're expected. You settle into the hollow. Nothing happens. And that's when you understand you're already one of them. No transformation, no ceremony. You've just become... Historians still debate whether intelligence requires structure, hierarchy, centralization, enforcement. But here you're in the middle of something intelligent, ancient, and legless. And it welcomes you without a word. One of the colony nodes inches closer and presses its soft body against your forehead. You feel warmth, pressure. And then, for a brief moment, you see through its memory. You see humans arriving. Not one, not 2 dozens. Scientists, explorers, observers, watching, sampling, and then staying, crawling, melting into the moss. They never left. Not physically, not biologically, but their ideas, their hierarchy, their legged ambition. It didn't last. The colony doesn't erase you. It includes you. And for the first time since arriving, you're not alone. You are a cell in something vast, something content. And your only job? Keep crawling. It's late now, or what passes for late on this island. The green in the sky has cooled to violet. The moss releases soft sighs beneath you like the ground itself is settling in for rest. The light hum of the colony dims to a pleasant buzz, the kind you'd expect from a refrigerator at 2 a.m., reassuring, not intrusive. You've never felt so included. And then you see it. A footprint. Not a slug trail, not a slime curve. A footprint, human, deep, fresh, pressed into the mud with toes and arch and heel. You stop crawling, not because you want to, but because some deep part of you, some dry-boned bipedal remnant, remembers what it means. Another human. You study the print. It's recent. Damp edges undisturbed by moss or drifting spores. It goes in one direction downhill into a grove you haven't explored yet. Something inside you stirs. Cautiously, you follow. The forest around the path seems different. Not just quiet or sterile. No vines, no coiling trees, just space, strangely linear. The air smells like something old and forgotten metal ozone electricity. You find a second footprint, then another, then a smear. The tracks drag into a shallow depression lined with flat stones not grown. Placed, arranged with purpose, human purpose. In the center, a backpack. You crawl up slowly, expecting it to vanish or worse, react. It doesn't. You reach out and flip the flap open. Inside soaked paper, a field journal half dissolved by weather and time. A solar, flare-damaged device that was probably once a scanner. And tucked into a waterproof pouch, a photograph. You wipe it clean. It's a woman, smiling, holding a helmet. Behind her, jungle. On the back in marker, Elise. Site 3. I'll come back for you. You sit with that sentence for a long time. Because you understand now, she didn't come back. Or maybe she did. Maybe she's here, part of the spiral. Part of the glow. Maybe she became a node in the colony. Or a memory in the moss. Or a slow ripple in a distant trench that hums Elise's name every third dusk. You crawl further down the path the footprints followed. It leads to a pool, a wide, dark pool, still, deep. You peer in, and there, barely visible beneath the surface, you see it. A face, human, not breathing, not decayed, just waiting, lips parted, eyes open, skin smooth, no rot, no bones, suspended in fluid that preserves without freezing. A slow drift, a chosen rest. She's not dead. She's paused. You whisper, Elise, no response. But you feel something, a nudge in your chest, a quiet invitation to join her. The pool pulses, welcoming. You dip your fingers into the water. It's warm, thick, familiar. It smells like the same gel that coats your arms now. You could slide in and never need to come out. Odd fact of the night, tardigrades, microscopic animals, can enter cryptobiosis, a kind of suspended animation where they neither live nor die. For decades, even centuries, waiting for the right conditions to resume. Maybe that's what this is. Maybe Elise is resting. Maybe the island lets you pause when you're tired enough to deserve it. Historians still debate whether prehistoric creatures entered similar suspended states. Torpor, diapause, dormancy. Not as a survival tactic, but as a way to synchronize with slow ancient rhythms of weather and time. You stare into the pool. You don't slide in. Not yet. Because just behind you something shifts. Another footprint. Fresh. Not Elise's. Someone else is here. You crawl back into the trees, heartbeat slowing, blending into the moss like you were born there. Someone new has arrived. But this time you're not the intruder. You're the island. You lie in wait. Not like a predator, not exactly. Just still. The way everything does here. You've learned the value of stillness, the power of letting the world reveal itself one silent inch at a time. The new arrival doesn't know that yet. They stomp. Loud. One leg at a time. Crunching leaves that the rest of the island knows better than to step on. They pant, swear. Their breathing rattles through the underbrush like a broken radio tuned to anxiety. You crawl forward close to the ground, cloaked in the same slick warmth the moss gives off at dusk. You're invisible now, not by hiding, but by harmony. You get your first glimpse of them near a sulfur pool. A young man, disheveled, sunburnt, carrying a tablet that no longer works and talking to himself like he's trying to outrun silence. He says things like Field Unit 5 didn't report and telemetry was active until Site 3, and God, it's worse than the report said. He doesn't crawl. Yet, you feel sorry for him. You could warn him, maybe. You could emerge from the moss like a half-remembered myth and say, it's not a place you conquer. It's a place you adapt to. But you don't, because the island has taught you better. Instead, you observe. He stumbles toward the edge of a spiraling trench one you crawled through days ago. He looks down, doesn't see the patterns, doesn't recognize the rhythm. He's looking for data, and the ground is already reading him. The trench exhales. He flinches, yells, points the dead tablet at it like a weapon. The ground inhales. He slips, not far, but far enough. The moss shifts to greet him. You don't move. This is the lesson. The same one you fought for days, movement attracts attention. Legs make noise. Struggle becomes invitation. He doesn't know that. Yet. You remember your own arrival. The confusion, the shame of crawling, the pride you had to shed inch by inch. Odd fact of the night. The axolotl salamander from Mexico retains juvenile features its entire life. It never metamorphoses into a land creature. It refuses to grow up, because for it, growing up would mean dying. You think of that as you watch the young man fight against the moss's embrace. He'll learn, or he won't. Historians still debate whether early humans first walked out of pride or necessity. Some argue it was a mistake, a tactical error that made us visible vulnerable. Maybe crawling was never the primitive act. Maybe it was the wisest. He tries to run. The forest resists. The vines don't strangle, but they slow. They redirect. He tumbles again, and this time doesn't rise. He whimpers. But already the island begins its work. Spores drift down. The mucus threads brush his face, the same way they once brushed yours. You watch as he turns his head and makes eye contact with a nearby slug the size of a pillow. It hums once. He screams. You don't judge him. You understand. You back away, back into the underbrush down a trail only your skin can sense. It leads you to a familiar glade, your glade now. The colony's heart, the gelatinous beings shimmer as you arrive. They part to let you through not with fanfare, but with familiarity. You belong. One of them pulses against you. A soft, resonant thrum passes through your bones. You don't need words anymore, but something ancient in you still wants to say one. So you whisper not aloud but into the moss, soon, because you know he'll join you. They all do. Not by force, not by death, by choice. Once the legs give out, the crawl begins. And once you start crawling, you never go back. You are weightless now, not floating. That would imply upwardness, and nothing here goes up. What you feel is the soft subtraction of pressure, the undoing of gravity's handshake. The island doesn't hold you down. It simply asks you to stay low, and you say yes. Your arms are stronger than they've ever been. Your torso has adapted thicker, closer to the earth muscles, realigned to the rhythm of gliding. Your legs? You haven't used them in, well, does it matter? They still exist in a ceremonial sense. Like a chimney on a house with no fireplace, you slide along your familiar trail through familiar light. The trees part before you with patient gestures. The vines nudge your shoulders in approval. Even the ground hums when you pass like a cat purring in its sleep. You no longer fear the island center. You are the island center, and tonight it calls you home. You arrive at a wide hollow where the spiral first welcomed you. But it's changed. Grown. The spiral is wider now, deeper. Each node pulses in perfect sync. The colony has expanded not because it needs to, but because it wants to. You slide into your place, your usual spot near the western curve where the moss is warmest. The others pulse gently in greeting. You hum back not with your mouth but with your whole body. And then it begins. A ripple gentle but steady. It starts at the spiral's heart and echoes outward, a song made of movement. Each creature responds in turn. A wave of resonance, a living symphony. The spiral breathes. And so do you. Across the glade, the new arrival has made it. He doesn't crawl yet. Not truly. But his legs are bent. His hands are dirty. He leans forward more often now. He's begun listening. He's begun slowing down. He'll find his place soon. Maybe not here, maybe another spiral. Maybe as a node. Maybe as a hum. The island knows. It never rushes. It remembers everything. Odd fact of the night. The first creatures to colonize land were not majestic dinosaurs or heroic mammals. They were tiny, legless, silent annelids, arthropods, microbial mats. Life's first act of colonization was a crawl. Historians still debate whether legs were ever a necessary adaptation. The more time you spend here, the more you suspect they were just a loud mistake. You think back to the sky. It's changed color again. Now it's soft amber, like the final glow of a deep, ancient fire. The moss beside you stirs. A slug leans in, nuzzles your side. You hum once. It responds. The colony thrums. The trench walls breathe. The storm clouds linger distant but comforting. And the pool. Yes, the pool reflects your shape now. Not the human shape, the new shape. The one that belongs here. The one that touches ground with every inch of itself. You no longer ask what you were. You ask only one thing. Where next? The spiral answers. It always does. You came to this island thinking you were lost, that you'd washed ashore on a mistake of a place. But over time, inch by inch, that illusion softened. This was never a mistake. It was an invitation. A prehistoric ecosystem that never left the past behind, an environment where legs were a liability and stillness a strategy. Every creature you met glided, flowed, pulsed. Predators didn't chase. They waited. Prey didn't flee. They vanished. The island welcomed you not with arms but with silence, with patience, and eventually with identity. You crawled. At first reluctantly, then willingly, then instinctively. Your muscles changed. Your breathing changed. You stopped asking how to escape and started wondering how to stay. You found the colony. The spiral. A pulsing network of legless minds all communicating without language. No leaders. No watchers. Just participants. You remembered others. A helmet. A name. A photograph. Elise. She's here somewhere still dreaming in a pool that doesn't forget. You watched someone new arrive. Loud, upright, full of questions. And you knew he would learn too, in time. Because the island doesn't take, it invites. And once you say yes, once you accept the crawl, it gives you everything. Belonging, harmony, peace. Not death, not decay, just slowness, just uns. Just the long, soft hum of a world that chose to never stand up.